I was going to say that's what I like about it too, because it's a lot more conversational, a lot more personal, and then it's really cool because we get to bring you guys into the fold as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and think about, I mean, having this set within the newsroom, so there are people working
everywhere,
talking, you know, all of that, and really, I mean, that's impressive what you do, really.
Well, thank you very much.
You should really stay focused and talk to the audience and all of that, and I mean, that's a big thing.
Yeah, last August, and the very first broadcast was an hour long, and that was it. And so we've kind of grown it from there. But before that, yeah, it was the same thing. We were Facebook Lives and, you know, our live stream on our apps and stuff, and social media was what we had to handle on. And then once we, I think launching that OTT app, the Roku and the Amazon Fire app was like, that was the door.
Yes.
That opened everything else up.
Wide.
Yeah. So
But talking about the next thing on the horizon, do you see something there? Is there anything coming up?
It really depends on what we're talking about, you know, because the next big thing for, you know, television and movies, you know, Netflix was that. The next big thing for news, I think, is going to be getting away from that hour-long newscast thing. You know, that mentality that says we, the news station, are going to tell you, the viewer, what you want to watch.
And when?
When in a half hour. So you're going to get your news at 6 p.m. every day. For half an hour, we'll tell you what to watch. We'll tell you what the stories are going to be. And so it's very one-way street.
Sure.
And as a viewer, it's a very passive relationship with it. And I think the next big thing is moving away from that. You know, viewers have really responded to having their television on demand. I think that's going to end up being on the far end of the horizon there.
So do you think, what are your suggestions? Do you think that there should be someone 24/7, okay, not one person, but but a couple of people in the studio and airing right away when it's necessary? What is your suggestion?
I think so. I think that's kind of what we're doing here. Is we're not here 24 hours a day, but we're here 18 hours a day, from 4:30 a.m. until 10:30 p.m. And there's good and there's bad to that. You know, a 24-hour news channel, and I think we saw some of that with the cable networks, is that you have to be on for 24 hours. And if there's not news happening, then what are you going to do? And sometimes that leads to a little bit of sensationalism, to really just stretching things out of stories that don't necessarily need them.
Breaking news, news.
Yeah, everything is breaking news.
Walmart opened,
breaking news, exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what I like about this, is because, yeah, we're here all day long, but, you know, we're not going to have breaking news stories all day long, either locally or nationally, but we can fill an hour and a half with this conversation. And so we are essentially creating content out of just having a conversation, and I think there's value in that, absolutely, when there's not serious major news to cover. And so there's a value in having something that keeps you company, you know what I mean? People like to turn on background noise, like we'll turn on a television and a show and play all the episodes just to have something playing in the background. This serves that need as well too. But when it comes to news, to getting actually consuming news, I don't know. I feel like there's going to be some way, somebody's going to figure out how to make that on demand. And I don't have time to watch news at 6, but I can watch it later. Or I can watch 5 minutes later and 10 minutes tomorrow or whatever else. And they'll just be able to handpick the stories that they want. And that's the benefit of print, I think, is that, you know, you get on a website, I'll read this story now, I'll read this story later, I'll read this story after that. So print, you know, digital print is kind of that on-demand thing, and I think you see a lot of growth in website-based news consumption. And so when television figures out how to match that model, I think you'll see them do that. That's just my thoughts there. What about you?
Well, I think you're right, actually, because we're also into this whole streaming, video on demand thing, but it's still, because it's so within our roots in a way.
Yes.
And within our tradition, routines that we stick to, it's very hard to overcome them and to go forward. Just think about social media for us in Europe. It's really still a big thing.
Right.
And whenever there is a reporter in the field, twittering is like, you know, and you know, that's what I really like about the States, because you guys just go, you know, go, do it, right? So, well, I think I take that mentality with me and just go. Yeah,
absolutely.
As I said before, we in Germany are really blamed right now, especially as public broadcasters. Whenever we do a critical interview, it's like, you're too liberal, you're too conservative, you know, whoever comments, right? So, and that's actually something very new. I mean, I haven't really experienced the good old days, but people used to tell me it has been different. And so I was wondering if you guys experienced the same.
In general, like, not just here in the KLTV newsroom, but in general, yes. I mean, there's a contingency of people who are going to be instinctively want to argue with news that doesn't necessarily reflect what they already think or believe. And part of that comes from a lot of irresponsible journalism, not here at KLTV, but just in general out there amongst the media. There is a lot of irresponsible journalism out there that adds to that. And so there are people out there who's like, all right, I know, I'm just going to use Lane as an example. I know what Lane really, really believes and what he really wants to believe, so I'm going to feed him as an outlet, feed him news that validates those beliefs to get him to keep clicking on my website, so I get more traffic and I get more money and I'm successful. And so he keeps getting that validation from irresponsible journalism, and then somebody else comes along who's just saying, here's the facts, here's this, and it contradicts what he's been, you know, fed. Well, that's fake. I don't trust that. I don't believe that. And so there is a lot of that. But I don't think we see any of that pushback here at KLTV, and it's because of the ethics and the responsibility that we take. You know, there's no sensationalism. There's no stretch to make a point. It's just, here's fact A, fact B, fact C, here's the story. And I don't think people really respond to us negatively, because at the end of the day, responsible journalism it speaks for itself. You know, facts speak for themselves. And so yes, in general, there is a problem with that. I don't think we see it here in this newsroom, but Lane, you can elaborate on that.
I would agree, and I think you see a lot more of that, you know, especially on the national level.
That's what I was
with
going
the
to
network
say.
news.
Because I'm working for a national broadcaster, so we air whether it's in Munich or in Hamburg or in Berlin, and so there are a lot of people that we actually reach, and you guys have a really strong connection to your community, so maybe that's why you're immune in a way to that.
Right, but there are other outlets who are less concerned with that and more concerned with appealing to their established audience. And that audience becomes established because that's who they're appealing to. And again, so if you spend...
So it becomes an echo chamber of thoughts, and you know, we want to provide our viewers with as many sides to a story, as many views that can help them to really see the whole picture. And not just one narrow focused area. I mean, of course, the truth, facts, again,
the truth,
drive everything and are at the foundation of that. But again, we're not cherry picking what information we're giving our viewers, and and like I said, it really is trying to give you, the viewer, as much information that helps you to understand an issue, a person, a story, and let you come to your own conclusions, because you're an intelligent enough person you know, that you should be able to do that and not be told what to think.
What to think about the facts. We're just going to give you the information, and what you do with it is up to you.
And I feel, I mean, there are so many people talking about this media crisis, but for me personally, this is the best time to become a journalist, actually, because if now then never, right?
Right.
Because now you really have to stick what you were taught at school, at
absolutely.
university,
Yeah.
get the facts
really
right,
thinking
you
about
know.
that on a
Exactly,
regular basis.
exactly. And so, well,
In touch with those foundational lessons.